You can start your mic. Welcome back, Engineer ROTICH. We went for a break. You were talking about how to improve the relationship between research institutions and engineers so that the research that is done at the universities can be transferred to the field so that we can see the real practical effect of the research working. So I would like to hand over to members if they have questions so that they can ask you more. Other members. Cynthia, you have a question? All right, as they think, engineer, what will you do for Kenyans in the semi-arid to motivate them to take engineering? Because if you look at the engineering list, you'll be surprised to find the names that are there. You'll find some very few Abdi Fatah and some majority from Central, then Western Kenya. But we rarely see our brothers and sisters from, say, Turkana and Elwak coming in. What, and especially the ladies from those sides, like say in Turkana, Northern Kenya, and even Mandera side. What are you going to do to ensure that we have more of Kenyans to come into the board, especially from the semi-arid Kenya?
Thank you so much, Engineer, for that very important question. I know we have talked about mentorship. It's only mentoring engineers to become professional. I think mentorship is a wide word, ideally. I would like possibly to propose to engineers that we need to extend and reach out to the schools out there where really the understanding on engineering profession has not been really taken up because of probably lack of information. Say that when students are actually choosing courses, we should also have students preferring to choose engineering courses. And also taking into consideration the background of the students in those areas, that is Northeastern Turkana, we should actually have what we are calling affirmative action. In other words, we should appreciate the background and allow a percentage of them to be included in our institutions to train as engineers. It's only when we get the students joining those courses as engineers and they actually graduate, then that's when we can focus on centering on expanding actually the registration and inclusivity of engineers from these specific areas. And I believe we can actually, as institution, spearhead this to the various people given the authority to actually profess engineering as a training course in the various colleges and schools. That one I think is possible, engineer.
Thank you very much, engineer, for that wonderful answer. And my co-host is having another meeting, so but she always has one question that she asked me to put across to the guest, and her question is always this: engineering. We have people who have done engineering, and in the process of duty, they end up being handicapped. And then we have those engineers who are handicapped and they still go ahead and do engineering. What will you do to ensure that they are visible? Because their visibility in Kenya is like they are not visible much in Kenya. So what will you, and even in the universities, in Kenyan universities, it's very hard to find somebody handicapped doing engineering, yet we know we have some handicap nature that they can still be able to do engineering. So what is your take on how to improve visibility of engineers with disability or future engineering students with disability?
Thank you so much for this good question too. You know, engineering, the definition of engineering is not the engineering we knew many years ago when I was joining. I knew engineering was meant to be like a mechanic, where you come out and you have to be in an overall, you have to be having spanners, left, right, center. You have what we used to call one boy hammer, the big one. That was defining an engineer at that time. An engineer now is an engineer where we center the deliverables on the brains of the engineer. And the brains, I believe, is independent of the physical nature of an individual. So to me, I believe with the specific courses done by engineers, especially on handicap, and those ones that do not require major physical work, I believe they can actually have a place and a major role they can play in engineering. And we can actually support them to be visible by recognizing them in various forums and allowing them also either, I don't want to call it special groups, because you know, engineering, once we have a degree, you're not disabled, you are really enabled. So to me, I think it's just having them to be visible through appointments, through recognizing them to sit in committees where actually their roles can be appreciated and encourage others in similar situations to grow. So that is my take, engineer, in terms of those who are physically challenged.
All right. So can we take it from you that once elected by the esteemed members of the society, you'll take it, you'll make it your duty to ensure that this time round we have an engineer with disability sitting in any particular committee in the board?
That will be my I would say my commitment.
Yes.
Because I'll be sitting in a board of in a panel, but
Yes.
my commitment will be to drive that agenda to ensure that role of those specific individuals are recognized in these committees, and hopefully ensure every committee we really have an engineer who is physically challenged also sitting.
And also taking into account the gender parity.
Oh yes, that's really crucial at the moment.
Thank you.
We cannot have engineers of ladies, or board of ladies only, or board of gents only. We really have to have that stake.
Thank you for that. Cynthia, your next question?
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you, Cynthia.
Okay, thank you very much, Ndolo. Engineer Abel, thank you for your presentation and for spending time to tell us more about what you intend to do for engineers in Kenya. My question to you and also to the rest of the candidates, since most of them are have this focus on bringing more women engineers into the profession. My challenge to them is, are we following up what happens to the women engineers once they get into the profession? Because statistically, it shows that not all of them proceed up to the end like the rest of the gens to complete, maybe even up to retirement. Most of them drop halfway. So what is it that he will do, and even the rest of the contestants?
Thank you. Your mic is not stable. Engineer, can you hear me, Engineer Bill?
Yes, I can hear you quite well.
I don't know what happened to Cynthia, but I think you get the question. And to add on her question, maybe you could also tackle this question that is coming out. What are engineers in your position, for example, do about sexual harassment on young engineers who come to farms? There is something that is happening and some complaints that are becoming out that there is some issues to do with sexual harassment on young ladies, especially those who are just fresh from the graduate who are looking for internship.
Thank you so much, Engineer. Thank you, Engineer Cynthia Osundwa, for the two questions. First is the survival of women engineers from graduation to retirement or even beyond. To me, I think there's no reason why an engineer that is qualified should actually not stick with the profession to the end. And the only way to do this is to have, again, this affirmative action to ensure that we work together. The male and female engineers are given equal opportunities in terms of recognition, in terms of appointments, in terms of also securing businesses, so that the profession becomes lucrative. I know people move out of engineering because they're looking for more lucrative positions. But if we made our profession lucrative in terms of recognition, even by the government appointing authorities, so that ladies from engineering can see a career that ends well, I don't see the reason why they should actually not stick. So in other words, as engineers, we need to secure our space in the industry. We secure our space in the administration. We secure our space in the leadership. Say that at the end of the day, there's no motivation to leave the profession. Now the motivation to leave the profession is basically tied up to survival. If you find you can't survive and there are other opportunities out there that can make you survive, then even the men, by the way, I know men engineers who have left and they are working in the banking industry. Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing I started by saying, you cannot preach to people who have nothing in the stomach. So we have to fight for our space jointly together as equals, and note that the female engineers are not unequal. So that one to me, it is something the leadership of IEK should take up and really profess as we move forward, so that that space for engineers is actually recognized and is existing. Now, harassment, sexual harassment. I would say this is very unfortunate. It's an uncouth, it's unprofessional. It is really terrible when people in positions, especially engineers who are mentoring others, and you are mentioning internship, you are mentioning attaches, they get sexually harassed. This is happening in the society. What we have done where I'm working is to create a reporting structure, anonymous, and we even have what we call Pink Energy. Pink Energy is a team of little leaders that actually have come out together to create a forum so that they address this kind of harassment if they actually end up existing. So it is something that I don't support. It is a worst thing that can happen, and we need to create a forum among the engineering institutions where such a thing can be addressed, and such people should never be accommodated in the engineering world as such. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Engineer Abel.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cynthia, for that question, and I thank Engineer for answering that question. I hope even if he is not elected, but we hope he is elected, he will be able to take those issues to do with sexual harassment, and also to promote the idea where ladies make sure they don't change profession because of problems such as sexual harassment from their seniors. Gitonga, you have a question?
Yes, the last one. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Engineer, for answering my previous question. I have a concern of, I'm aware that EBK should be handling the issue of graduate engineer internship program, but that has not taken off. Now, my concern is regarding the PIP seminar, the professional interview seminar, and the kind of material and content and the way it's trained. I was thinking, or my concern is an engineer. I don't know how it can be done, that the Gs immediately they get the graduate certificate from IEK. There should be a conference or a seminar to tell them that now you have graduated from university. You'll be required to prepare yourself in the next 3 years. You'll be required to prepare your report. You're required to put logs of what you are doing. Because what I saw when I attended the PIP is that it's kind of a crash program at the end. When you're already 5-6 years, that is the time people are going for PIP. And it should start immediately when graduates get out of college. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Kitonga. I sincerely appreciate your proposal. This is a good proposal that you bring forward, and I'm actually in support. And my view is structured training will address this. And the only way we can do, if we partner with these institutions, during the time when we have graduation ceremonies, most of them do it only once in a year. I believe, and there are many engineers that are coming out, we should have one of the subcommittees, a representation in these institutions, and then try and connect these engineers who are actually graduating to really propose to them when they can get early graduation, graduate engineer certificate, and when we can actually have the next training or forum or a seminar to really allow them understand the procedure and the process of working from graduate engineer to a professional engineer. This is a proposal, Engineer Ketonga, and I believe together with EBK, is something that can be addressed and see how efficiency can be brought to support graduate engineers as they transition into professional engineers. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think the best way to handle that should be, we know very well that Engineers Board of Kenya is a regulator, and for that matter, it has made sure that there is at the engineering institutions, the chairman of the department, the dean, most of them are engineers. So, and they're members of IEK. Though IEK, in my humble opinion, I think given a chance at IEK, you should ensure that there is always, maybe monthly or something, sending memos, sending notices to engineering chairs of department and chair and the deans to ensure that all students are members of IEK. Maybe for a start, we waiver the 200 Kenya shilling that the students are required so that they all register, all of them, the whole country. And then when they graduate, especially those who are just about to graduate, fourth year, fifth year, third year, they at least know where they're headed to. Make sure that they all register, and when they graduate, the IEK receives a notice that the following students have graduated, and they are sent with the letters and emails reminding them to seek the EBK registration as soon as possible. That is my humble opinion. Maybe you can think of it in that way.
That's a wonderful suggestion. I'm taking those notes home. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other question, members? Abdi?
Mine is not a question. I just want to tell Engineer Abel ROTICH that I wish him all the best in these elections, and I wish him all the best, the very best.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Abdi. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Now, Engineer, there is something also that is mind-boggling from the other forum, whereby members are complaining about their data security. What is your take about data security and maybe the new website?
It's actually well, thank you so much for this question. It's actually very important to protect data for engineers. And also even the data that council has, because if we have a hacker coming in and mixing the data, it can be very, very costly. So I know we have passwords, we have levels of protection in accessing data, and only allow the bona fide authorized members to access data. And this can be done with the current softwares in the market. This is something that I believe council should look into to ensure that data for engineers is protected, and only access to the engineers themselves can actually be issued through passwords that may be changed in rotation on a monthly basis. You change the passwords to ensure that somebody who has potential or mischief should not be able to access this data, which is very crucial. Thank you.
Thank you for that. How about, are you satisfied with the level of structures at IEK? The functioning structures of IEK?
I would like to say I'm aspiring as a candidate to go into IEK.
Yes.
Board. Once inside, to me, we need to have a vibrant IEK. So we'll have to look at the existing subcommittees that are supporting the main board, and also the branches, and look at where it's efficient and where we have inefficiencies. I think we shall give a priority, me being a member of the council, to push to really have structures that make our processes more efficient and address the needs and the welfare of the members. At the end of the day, we are actually serving members. And
Yes.
if the current structure is not able to address the issues that are affecting our members, then I don't see why we should stick to the old systems when we have better systems can actually function. So that will be one of the things I'd like to bring on board IEK board.
The reason as to why I'm asking this is because most of professional organizations, they function very well with a well-structured secretariat. So that means any information that is streaming out to the public and to members, the secretariat is always hands-on. And so far, even up to date, I don't know. We've been asking for the list of scrutineers to know them. Who are they? Who are the scrutineers? Everybody knows who IEBC is, and we know the commissioners. In our case, we don't know the scrutineers who are there. And the other thing is we don't even know the rules of engagement. You as a contestant, have you seen the rules of engagement?
Yeah, thank you, Engineer. Actually, I've not seen the rules of the engagement, and also unofficially, I've known the scrutineers. I was a scrutineer in the last election, and
Yes.
that's why I'm thinking as we sit now, we should, as engineers, we should be as transparent as much as possible. Now, this is a very tricky question, Engineer. For one, is that the people in office are also contestants.
Yes.
And my view should not really go into actually making them lose votes. So
Yes.
I'd like you to reserve this until after the election. Then I'll give you my proper understanding of this.
All right. I would not want to crucify you at this moment. Otherwise, it's a concerning thing. That's why I'm asking it, and people really want to know the situation, how it is. We need to have scrutineers being known and the rules of engagement being made public so that members know how and to what limit they can engage. Thank you. Corey, you have a question, engineer?
Kind of a follow-up question on the agenda items that Engineer ROTICH has put out.
Yes.
I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, I saw a copy of the conditions of contract for building works that was prepared by the Joint Building Councils. In it, the role of engineers is almost not there. And yet, there were some contributions by fellow engineers on how, when the document was being prepared. I just wanted to know, for such instances, what does Engineer ROTICH have, or how to approach it, how to, because with that kind of engineers, that kind of document coming out where the role of engineers has been diminished, it is taking away opportunities from us. Secondly, you find that there are quite a number of functions now that they have been decentralized to the counties. And when you go to those counties, you find the people responsible or in charge are mostly non-engineers. How do you propose to fight for that space for us? Because the spaces have been taken over by basically non-engineers, even for areas where you would need an engineer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Robert, for your two good questions. The first one is that I'd like to mention that when the Energy Act was coming into being, some of us, including myself, actually put in a lot to have the engineering profession recognized in that act. And even establishing an engineering school, which is now in the Energy Act, that will address like a professional school, like medical school or something like similar thing. This is now anchored in the Energy Act. So that recognition is there. In terms of regulations, I think this is where now we need to come in and we can have an act of parliament to actually modify some of these regulations that are covered in the act. And it's upon the engineers now to really bring themselves out and say this building works must not address properly. And I believe this is possible. For one, we have had history of buildings collapsing in this country. One time when I was the branch chairman in Mombasa, a building collapsed. And being the branch chairman, I led a team of engineers to look at really what happened. That's why we came in and say engineering should really be recognized and given a major role in terms of even addressing the aftermath and also before such things really happen. And if the building works is not recognized, then that's a major omission. And I believe together as engineers, we'll be able to do something on this in terms of having an act modified through a bill in parliament, possibly. This is why I leave the lawyers to support engineers in making sure this is done. Now, I totally agree with you that in the counties, the people who are actually nominated and people who are appointed into engineering sites are not really engineers. And eventually, when we have building works, when we have road works being done, even the supervisors themselves do not have engineering background. I think it is upon this institution to really come out, and we are recognized in the act now. We have a role. It's not like we are strangers. We are recognized in the current constitution and the act that institution of engineers existing. And we can actually take our stake out and say, we need what is going on, the standards of what is happening in the counties, as far as engineering is concerned, should have comments and should have participation by engineers of Kenya, either through IEK or EPK, so that those counties should not actually throw aside the engineering as a profession. So this is something I need with my colleagues at the board once elected to actually address with the support of the engineers. We have to do this together. It cannot be the board alone. It has to be with all the engineers there, because we also play the roles of supporting these counties. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Wonderful questions, wonderful answers. Our time is running, and anybody with a question to ask? If there's no question, members, question, comment. All right. Now, engineer, as you
Yes.
as you wind up, just in maybe 5 minutes, you summarize your agenda and also give a pitch as you request members to vote for you.
Thank you. I'd like first to appreciate the engineers who have been listening to me out there, who have actually devoted their time to sit and listen to my manifesto, listen to my dreams. And I would like to reiterate once more that I would like to see a vibrant IEK. I would like to see engineers having a space for themselves in this country. I would like to see engineers who are empowered, both in terms of the training capacity and also the pockets, so that they can move places and make a difference for our people. I would like to say that without engineering, everything in the country cannot stand, because we virtually support all the other professions. You go to law, you find all the gadgets they use are actually engineering gadgets that are manufactured by engineers. You go to hospitals, doctors, all the gadgets they use are built by engineers. Why can't we take our proper space and be up there, and all these other people recognize that engineers are the basis that we stand on. Engineers have helped build the economy, and I think going forward, that's what IEK actually should be. And I want to promise the engineers that by electing engineer Abel ROTICH, you are electing somebody with track record. You are electing somebody with experience. You are electing somebody who has supported IEK before. You are electing someone who will bring a difference in IEK, and you'll never go wrong. So together, we'll do more. And thank you so much once again for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts, share my dreams with the engineers out there. And come 23rd of March, 2020, kindly come out, be present, vote for engineer Abel ROTICH. At the end of the day, we'll be voting for success. Thank you, engineers. And also thank you, facilitators, for giving me this chance to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, engineer, for having accepted to be our guest and for sharing your manifesto with us, and for taking a chance to promote young, youthful engineers. I know your work from the background of my friends who I've interacted with. We've never met personally, but I've heard so much about you. And I sincerely wish you all the best in this forthcoming election. And may the dreams of IEK that you have come to live and you see them through.
Thank you.
All participants of this meeting, I end the meeting. I thank you for joining us today. And in 1 hour's time, we'll be having Engineer Shama Kiteme. And I request you guys again to join for that session. Otherwise, thank you all. Thank you, Engineer ROTICH. May God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.